All right, guys, we're jumping back in here as the Celtics are close, right, Bobby?
Yeah, just a couple more. I saw Mobley come in the Cleveland at 49 there just before
Martin
I.
went 51 already. UConn's Tyrese Martin. So we're 52. Celtics are at 53, and we are going to hang out here all the way through the 53rd pick. We'll recap some of the other stuff that happened in the draft prior to that.
Martin was a guy who was mocked to Boston, so one of the options there. But
Let's go with what you had, and some of this stuff doesn't hold anymore. Roddy went way early. What's left for you here? Anybody?
one of my first round options actually is still available.
Which
The
one
guy
was
we
that?
talked about there from the
Cornette, Neesmith, or a Pritchard?
No, they actually all went. One of my why can't I think of his name now? I believe his name was oh man, it's slipping my mind now. This is how great he is. Not the first guy on the list. You got this graphic from the first round?
Yeah, but I was going to let you sweat a little bit more.
Well, I'm going to keep sweating here. I can't pull it up. There we go. Justin Lewis. I was going to say Justin Turner. He's still there. So that's definitely my target right now. And
Justin Lewis,
among
how
these
about here on
guys,
this list?
you got Sebron and Williams still available. Gabrielle actually went pretty early in the second round. So like I said, mixed bag here. EJ Little dropped to 41 after being like a 20 to 30 type guy on a lot of lists. There's a lot of crossover between the guys.
I've seen also Ron Harper Jr. He's still around. A lot of people had him.
Jared Rhoden out of Seton Hall is a good pick. Dominic Barlow is one of those Horford types who I was interested in, who actually went through the Overtime Elite program last year. Wouldn't mind him at all. So a bunch of good options here, as well as some stash types too. Gui Santos still available out of Brazil, and Matteo Spagnola out of Italy. Gene Montero. So ton of good options here. I don't think you can go wrong. I don't think they needed to move up for anyone.
Anybody left here that can jump in and contribute?
Probably not right away. Like I said, I was high on Justin there, but everyone else is probably going to be lower down the roster fighting for one of those two-way spots or, a rotation spot in general. Neesmith remains, Grant remains, Pritchard remains tonight. So looks like they'll be in the fold. Brad going to talk, of course, tonight. And just doesn't seem like there was all that much activity as they alluded to start the night. Looks like they were pretty comfortable sitting at 53 and seeing who falls here. So we'll see who it ultimately does end up being. But I really do hope it's my guy there.
The guy who you love. The guy who you love. I have to remind you his name, but you love him, and you're hoping that he's the guy. Other piece of news that was somewhat interesting, there were some moves. Things shook up here. The Knicks kind of got goofy where they traded away a pick, acquired some more picks, then got another pick, and then traded that pick along with Kemba Walker's salary just to offload that pick. Got nothing in return for that, which was an interesting bit of kind of maneuvering there to give themselves a little bit more cap flexibility with the idea that the target here is Jalen Brunson. But considering the Celtics got Al Horford in order to take on, to get rid of, a large Kemba contract number to offload that. They gave up the 16 pick. The Knicks gave up pick 13 just to get out from $9 million from Kemba, which just seems like bad business.
Yeah, I think there's more to the story, of course.
And the Celtics are on the clock right now, by the way, at 53. New Orleans just picked, so we'll let you know. Caesar on the clock.
And Lewis is available, right? I don't think he's off the board yet, so I really hope they go with him there. That'd be a great pick. First round value, I think, there in a guy like that. But
yeah, Carlo Matkovich went 52, so Celtics are up.
All right, so you do have Lewis. You have quite a few of the guys that I was interested in here. Sebron, Alondis Williams, some of the stash guys, Dominic Barlow. Justin Roden. So any one of them I'd be happy with. Maybe someone off the Bobby Big Board here as well. We'll kind of see who some of the highest remaining people are, but definitely a mixed bag in terms of where guys ended up going. I'm seeing Kamagate, who just won a couple picks ago out of France, I believe it was ranked 29th on one of these lists. He ends up going in the 40s. So we will see. Ryan Rollins, though, that one annoyed me. Probably my favorite among the second round pick options there. Golden State jumps in on him for just cash, it looked like.
Yep.
He was a guy who I thought could jump in right away and contribute, given his shooting skills. Almost reminded me of an Alec Burks, guy that can shoot a little bit from all
and
over.
that's someone people have talked about in the TPE conversation, Alec Burks, especially with the Knicks looking to kind of move stuff around and shed some salary.
Wouldn't be a bad option at all. Yeah,
I've heard that name thrown around a bit. Yeah,
he's got some passing skills and obviously more of a guy who looks for his own shot off the bench.
JD Davison.
All right, that guy, he had some first round hope.
Alabama, JD Davison.
Yeah, more of a defensive type here, I believe. Definitely was higher on some boards than he ends up going here at 53. So I think people will be happy with him. Obviously, I think one of the comparisons you'll see there is a guy who played for Alabama a year ago, and Herbert Jones. Not quite that level of a defender.
He's a Derek White type.
Yeah, he brings some strong defensive skills to the table. Now, offensively, we'll see how he rounds out here. Again, not one of these guys I think can contribute right away, but probably one of the more skill guys that you could have projected going at this position here. Some of the best pedigree of all options that were available here. I definitely saw him higher on some boards than 53 for sure. Probably in the 30s.
Yeah, I mean, not a big scorer here. I mean, this is a person who's one and done as a freshman with 8.5 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and as you said, defense is kind of the calling card, but not necessarily. What's someone like this entering the draft in the first place for after their freshman year?
Just to get in the program, I think. Usually guys like this, you say they're not all that interested in college to begin with, and his numbers weren't amazing. 8 points a game, 5 rebounds a game. 4 assists is a little encouraging. Turnovers a little high, but definitely a guy who played with the ball in his hands quite a bit at that
4
spot.
assists makes you borderline elite for the Celtics.
Mm-hmm. So, what's the size here? 6'3", 190.
6'3", yeah.
Not terrible for that position. Of course, if you're a good defender, you get some decent size at that position. 3-pointer comes in at 30. Not great, but 46% from the field overall. Probably finishing good there, but you're definitely going to want to be able to shoot if you're going to get minutes on the floor with the Celtics there. But they got through without the best shooting on the floor period this year. I think this is a guy that could probably factor into the rotation a little bit at that guard spot. Someone to come in and push Pritchard a little bit potentially with some playmaking if he's capable of doing it. This is a solid pick.
Yeah. I mean, again, this is you get what you get here. We're talking about 53 here. There weren't a lot of sexy names left on the board. I know there's other guys you liked a little bit more, but I
definitely would have liked Lewis more.
Really, what the real story is, Celtics weren't one of the aggressive teams. Maybe there was some opportunity there. Maybe there was just nobody they wanted. And again, it is what it is here. But all of this,
this is funny.
Yeah.
This is funny from Vicini. You just alluded to it. More than any other player, I thought Davidson made a substantial mistake leaving college for the NBA draft.
Yeah.
He has real upside to play at one point, but his skill set and tools are just so raw.
That's what I mean.
Doesn't feel like he has a great understanding of what he's doing out there. That's what you love to read.
No, I mean, this is a project, sort of player here. And again, it being a second rounder, you're not as worried about it. I'm looking at yeah. I'm reading some of the stuff in the Athletic Guide. Consensus 5-star recruit, was expected to be one and done. Didn't have a great year though. 2-time Mr. Basketball winner in Alabama, McDonald's All-American. So, very high pedigree. coming into college, but didn't have a great first season. And so, that was maybe in his mind, he was always one and done, as you said, kind of like a, get downhill sort of guy. But again, not really outstanding numbers here. Has some defensive acumen as well.
The turnovers are high.
Yeah.
3 per game.
The weaknesses, and again, I'm going the athletic draft guide here, doesn't functionally get the most out of his athleticism, lacking in terms of skill level and his feel for the game, and his elite guard right now as a teenager. Really struggled to hit his shots as a pull-up shooter, just 25% of his pull-ups, most of which were from 3. So there's, I think he's coming in here playing like, a Mr. Basketball, but it just wasn't necessarily falling for him. Doesn't have a really fluid ball pickup, needs time to get the ball off. Questionable decision maker, not able to have a plan of attack when he tries to drive or play off of ball screens. A bit more of a mess on defense than you'd like to see too, although this is more just teenager stuff, not quite as balanced at the point of attack as you'd hope to see. Gets beat because of it, goes for steals. So raw, sounds like a player who has been used to being a superstar their entire lives and had to kind of get used to a little bit of the college grind, maybe a little bit anxious to get himself into the pros, and did. Didn't, ended up exactly where he was late in the second round. So
this certainly isn't a guy you would seek
not
out.
really a glowing review. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the thinking here is,
guys, I'm sorry. It's not me being negative. I'm reading a draft profile here. It's not, everyone's like, geez, John.
No, it's a pretty negative year he's coming off of. Now, we've seen guys have bad years in college and figure it out, and maybe he'll take things a little more seriously at this level coming in with the Celtics here. But it's definitely not a guy you would project to impact the game right away, certainly, with that assessment. He's not a guy I would seek out, but I guess the thinking here is that he has the most skill day one.
They grabbed the defensive player. They grabbed the player they thought they could possibly plug in there we talked about fitting the style. They brought in a guy who they think can be an NBA level defender here.
Or a guy they could develop.
6'3" guy with a 6'7" wingspan, has elite quickness and athleticism. One of the on this particular draft profile, makes some wow plays as a defensive player. Some of his blocks as a 6'3" guard are explosive. So what they're looking at here, and they're looking at a guy who has some more offensive potential than they showed. Catch and shoot threes at a 37% clip, can get downhill and be aggressive.
That's a good number.
Yeah. So again, sloppy, lacked some discipline, but has the athleticism and the physical profile to be a really good defender at the guard position. So again, as we said, 6'3" with a 6'7" wingspan, and good quickness here. So that's we talked about the style of play that kind of fits their style of play.
Yeah, this feels like a guy Danny probably would have taken at this spot. We got used to these guys in the draft regularly, guys who have all the athleticism, all the tools, but haven't put it all together on the court yet. So see if he develops it. If not, you don't lose much by taking him here. They'll certainly be able to bring in some other guys undrafted. Not a big leap of seeing guys who are going to make it to the free agency pool from here.
One hallmark here, vertical. One of the highest coming in here. I'm seeing 44.
This guy definitely seems to have athletic tools.
44-inch vertical, which is insane.
Yeah, and he's played with the ball in his hands. And this is what Jeff Goodman actually just sent out. Arguably the best athlete in the draft. So
yeah,
we'll see if
here's a quote. Here's a quote from
basketball skills.
Here's a quote from from his college coach. He could go at 50% and dominate the majority of his high school games. This was the first time in his life he actually had to really practice hard and bring it every day. It's an adjustment he struggled with for much of the season. Not enough to discourage him from staying in the draft after just an okay freshman year.
Yeah, you would definitely think he's off to Maine in a two-way role, maybe. maybe gets a roster spot at the bottom of the roster, but definitely not a guy who's going to impact the Celtics this year, you would think.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see who else they can get in the free agency pool here. Definitely some names we like Ron Harper, and they've brought in some local guys for workouts and such. Justin Lewis, I'm still waiting to see his name go. Gene Montero, I like him, but they got their point guard here. It looks like that they're going to try to develop. So probably not that route that they're going to take here. But overall, can't complain about much. I mean, I saw some people frustrated with others that they passed on. The Rollins thing annoys me a little bit just because I think he could have stepped in, potentially impacted the team now. But if you're going to grab a guy you think has some upside here, not a lot of guys do, especially past
Again,
guys as we talked
they're
about. So
grabbing upside here. They're grabbing a guy who was a legitimately out of his mind dominant high school player with elite athleticism and the ability to be an NBA caliber defender. So, Brad's going to jump up and talk. So I know, Bobby, you want to jump in on that. We're going to keep this short. Bobby will have some more stuff after he hears from Brad Stevens, but we wanted to jump in here and talk with you guys. I know there's a few people hanging out in the show, so we don't mean to cut it too short on you, but Bobby's got to jump in there and hear what Brad has to say. So, Bobby, I'll let you go. Guys, keep it tuned into our channels. We'll have more stuff. We're going to hear from Ime tomorrow as well. You got Brad's press conference on our YouTube page as well. But again, freak athlete. I like the freak athletes, Bobby, because I always think that's the thing you can't, I don't want to compare to certain players that you have, but certain people's physical profiles is ultimately going to limit what they can and can't do. You'd rather have a guy that, has that already in the bag and needs to learn a little bit. So yeah, you're right. Not somebody that they're going to plug and play here, but
no, it's the opposite of a lot of what I read for this pick. Most of the guys had one bankable skill, and athleticism was the question that was going to hold them back. Could it translate to the next level,
I
whether
like
it
this
was a
one.
short wingspan or
Point guard
poor
Rob.
speed or, just different. Even Kennedy Chandler, who I really like, 6 feet at this position. So, all the skill in the world there coming out of Tennessee, but does a short frame and, 5'11" height without shoes potentially just bust you in the NBA to begin with? You could certainly bust the other way here by not having those skills, but he'll be able to compete at this level. Now, Sebron out of NC State there also I thought had great athleticism and an ability to get to the rim at will, but he really struggled to finish when he got there. So everybody else falls at this position. For a guy to bring this pedigree to 53rd, I think it's hard to be upset about this pick. Again, I saw much higher projections for him coming into today from a number of
I mean,
people.
like I said, I was following, I had this athletic draft guide I was looking at. They had him rated at 50, their 54th prospect. He went at 53. So again, nothing stunning here. And again, I'm keeping an eye on the Celtics Zoom, Bobby. We're still good here.
Yeah, I got it up now too. I think they'll wait till the draft's over.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
We might as well see who else comes in here. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on it. But overall, first round, biggest takeaway from the first round, if you had to just hit one thing that really blew you away. I know we were on the air for the Detroit thing. It's hard to avoid
Detroit
that
got
one.
2 ready-made players. Detroit improved. And then Oklahoma City with 3 lottery picks there, obviously, gets a really interesting roster out of, just kind of going out of nowhere with their young players that they already have.
2 guys named Jalen
with
Williams.
SGA and Giddy, now all of a sudden OKC's got an interesting roster quick.
Yeah, I had a double take. I was like, did they pick 2 guys named Jalen Williams? Because I knew there were 2 Jalen Williams coming in. When I saw the second one go to them, I was like, did they really just do this? And they did. But all 4 of them seem to have good pedigree there, and I love Chet. Again, I think Chet's going to be the best player in this draft long term.
I think he has the potential to, because I'm not super wildly impressed by like the ceiling of the other guys. But again, it's really hard to tell. I think you're going to get good, not great players there. Chet has the potential to be different. But again, I don't know. It's interesting here. And again, we're just keeping an eye here as Brad's about to jump out and speak. The other takeaways were there was some movement there. And again, whatever the Knicks were doing, I think was just a real head scratcher as people were, trying to figure out exactly what happened, how they even got the pick. No one even knew they had the pick that they traded. So everything got a little bit goofy there for sure.
Yeah, you knew when they picked the guy from New Zealand that the boos were going to start raining down, and it
It is
wasn't even the guy they
interesting.
picked.
Someone here makes a good point. Real salary nightmare having this many lottery picks at once, because you're going to have to max them all at the same time or cut bait. So it's not a great position to be in. We talked about Oklahoma City a while back, Bobby, and like, what are they going to do with these picks? Like, you can't draft them all because you can't play a team that's all rookies. And then what are you going to do? You got to pay, you got to stagger those things. You can't like pay everybody at once. So yeah,
Especially
having
if
three.
Oklahoma. I mean, their salary just went up big time off SGA alone. Then you throw in the Kemba thing this year, and they weren't even in a position, how they've been doing these pick dumps the last couple of years. I saw some people say, "Oh, why can't they take Russ?" They don't have the money to do it already. When you think of Derek Favors and Kemba's money on the books and SGA boosting up to 30 million, so they're already pushing the cap line. I think they only have 24 million in cap space right now, so that's definitely a valid concern for them. And when are you going to make the shift to winning? This really frustrates me. And I thought the Celtics did a good job with it about a decade ago when they started their rebuild. They had that one awful year. They got their lottery pick. Looked like they went into the next year with the intention of tanking again. But they started to win, and guys grew internally, and you got a point guard in Isaiah Thomas who got things rolling in the right direction, and it was like, oh, do you really want to win now? But they didn't interfere with it, and it kept snowballing into more success and more momentum into the future. When you continue to derail winning like Oklahoma City has, when it starts to naturally emerge there, I mean, wouldn't you rather have Horford than everything they ended up with in that trade if you're them? I mean, he would have been a valuable asset for them to grow these young guys and start to win a little bit here. Definitely have enough picks to be able to grab quality guys. Maybe not number 2 if you don't tank here. They'll be happy to walk away with Chet out of this. But at some point, you do have to start winning. And at what point does Lou Dort say, all right, I'm going to be out of here in a year or two, or SGA eventually at the end of his deal? Like, they just seem to kick the can down the road constantly, and with what they've got right now, I think you can at least start to be competitive this year if you're them, or at least intend to. So, I don't know. I've never been crazy about that stuff, like tanking year in and year out, the process in Philly. I mean, how can you root for that?
You can as a fan, because the Celtics have been there before.
For
And
1 year.
I know. Well, no, you get that's just recently. They've been there before too, and it's part of the process where you get no, meaning like a little bit of hope is tantalizing, and you can watch people grow and develop. And you cannot be great, but you know that there's a promise of more things to come. So it isn't bad because you feel like you're playing with house money in those years. It's bad in the years leading up before the picks start to come in, but when they do, it's fun to watch them. So let's see. Warriors working the trade. Let's see here. Yannick
Up
knows
in
that
here
none of.
is Brad.
Oh, all right. Jump in. We're gonna take off, guys. Thank you for hanging out with us. We're gonna take off.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bobby, you do your thing. I'll wrap it up. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. I'm sorry we're so short with it, but Bobby does have to hop on and talk with Brad. So, like we said, check out our coverage. Bobby will be, put a little bow on it and do a little scouting and give you a profile of the Celtics pick. JD Davison, 6'3" guard out of Alabama. Mr. Basketball coming in, had a bad freshman year, but has an elite athletic profile. So that's what we've got here. Nothing happened on the trade front. No Pritchard, no Neesmith, no Grant. So those guys are hanging around. And obviously no big moves to speak of. So Celtics offseason continues with everybody in the fold. And again, it's looking more and more likely if they do make additions, it's going to be kind of stuff around the fringes. So thanks, guys, for hanging out. We will check you. We'll probably get back with you guys sometime next week as free agency is set.